sort of cooling fan in it. Just looking at the photograph, but yeah, effectively is a set of cameras. I think.
What's actually important about it is any person who owns an Xbox and is going to buy one of these devices will kind of ripped off. Whereas previously people thought it was a bargain, it was subsidized, and Microsoft was trying to claim that the price was necessary for whatever reason, and now people will just go and buy it from Nintendo. It probably would cost them about the same price, as buying just the peripheral for the Xbox. And yeah, it's a good way of basically trying to show people this thing is really a cheapo, unreliable thing, and when it doesn't work, you'll basically say, well, that's just what you get what you paid for. So.
And I mean, Reg Hardware make a good point actually, and they say that it surely leaves a sizable leeway for future price reductions. And I think once Microsoft stops cashing in on any sort of hype that surrounds this product, and people maybe going to the shops and getting one for Christmas, there may be a massive price reduction on these items. So that's worth something that people should keep in mind as well. And as is the case for most hardware, when it first gets released, the initial prices are considerably higher than the price a couple of months down the line. But that article will be linked on my show notes. So if anybody's interested in seeing what's inside the KINect, they can take a look there. Staying on the subject of Microsoft, and just when you thought it was safe to buy a smartphone, the KIN is alleged to be making a resurfacing again. There's an article on the Register which I've had a look at, which says that, or is alleging that Verizon, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, is going to be releasing it as a budget phone, or possibly somebody apparently has seen a product list that suggests that the KIN may be coming back. Now, as most people know who's listening to this, the KIN was a failed, I think it's fair to say, a failed effort by Microsoft to cash in on the phone market a few months back. Lasted 42 days, if memory serves me right.
Yeah, the boss got fired as well.
And there'll be a bit massive stockpile of these things floating around somewhere. So maybe this is the answer to get rid of that stockpile. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Roy, or.
I'm not exactly sure. This is one of the things I've been trying to find out. We have a person called something like Ziomatrix in the IRC channel, and he's the person that brought the news to me. He showed me the poster about 2 days ago. I didn't mention anything about it, but the reason he brought this up is because he's been he usually writes about the Palm Pre quite a bit, and he's very interested in phones. And what he said in this case, he knows the chain. He claimed it was probably spare stock, or I'm not exactly sure, but he found it very mysterious as well. And I don't think that there is any, except for this piece of paper or a web page or something, I don't think there was anything official, like an article saying anything about it coming back as a feature phone. But have you found anything?
I haven't found anything else, but I mean, it would seem quite reasonable if they have got a stockpile of these devices, that they would try their luck and try and push it out as a budget phone, merely to.
Yeah, what kind of quantities do they? Because one thing I should sorry, interrupt.
No.
I know one source, and that's John Gruber, or I don't know his name exactly. He says they sold only 503 items, and he's a very reliable, reputable source. Now, it depends on definition. So, how many did they sell to the shops, and how many did they sell to people? And if he gave a very exact number, I suppose it did get through to the people who work close to the carriers or the shop, or he got some information from one of the staff who knows the numbers. New York Times said under 10,000, and I think all these numbers do matter, even if you're a Linux user, because it just shows you how completely out of the game Microsoft has become, and they still are in many ways. The New York Times says it's obviously under 10,000. That's all we knew. Under 10,000, that's the official number. Well, what is under 10,000? Can be 1,000, can be 503. I think another source maybe says estimated at 2,000, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. I wrote some notes at the time. But in any case, the way you order the making of these things, usually in China or Taiwan, part of China, is you have to make a certain number of units. Now, 10,000 would make some sense, so maybe they would try to get rid of the stock. What they did say about 4 or 5 months ago, when it officially died, is that they were going to return the unsold units to either to Microsoft to try and return them somewhere, but I really don't see what they would do with these things. Like, what do you do with it? I suppose you have some joke about it.
It's really, like I say, I think it's quite reasonable, if this rumor is correct, that they're going to try their luck and try and shift whatever phones they've got left. It's a massive waste of money for them to manufacture. I can't believe that if they have sold less than 10,000, that they only manufactured 10,000 phones. So we can assume, I think, a considerable more higher number of phones are actually made. So they probably do have a lot in stock all over the country or countries.
Yeah, I don't think that's a concern. As far as stock is concerned, the most money was spent trying to design the individual parts, like the casing and the packages and everything like that. I don't think they're quite concerned about trying to get these things in people's hands, especially given the fact that they get very poor support and almost no updates for it.
Well, I think it could be a good PR exercise as well, because if they do release these phones as a budget phone, they manage to shift them all, selling them from rock-bottom ridiculous prices. They can tout that as a success of the KIN platform, even though, obviously, as it was intended, it failed. So I think there might be a PR angle here as well, to try and prove that they are still relevant in the mobile world. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it.
They probably are, as far as patents are concerned, so... They have lots of patents, and they have those companies that can kind of launch lawsuits and pass around patents. I don't think I'm not sure you've seen or I don't think we've discussed the Axis Incorporated and the Cassia thing, and the situation with them being paid by Microsoft for some mobile patents, which I think could lead to them now going after Google and trying to claim more fees in addition to the Microsoft tax. They will try to put some more patent tax, which will be kind of like the Axis or the troll tax on Android for, Samsung and LG, and they'll try to push all kinds of piles of trolls, each one of them taking like a few dollars off the Android platform, until it becomes expensive enough for companies to try and consider probably not Symbian, because Symbian has been sort of phased out as far as it's kind of collapsing now. The only other option they have, except Android, is the Microsoft one, because BlackBerry is it's just BlackBerry. That's RAM, and you have Apple, and they completely control everything about the hardware, and they're the only ones who can sell that. So Microsoft is trying to give companies, except for Apple and BlackBerry, any conceivable reason to decide they want to go with this Windows thing instead of the Linux-based platform. And the way they'll do it, and I'm pretty sure you'd expect more lawsuits to be filed. I suppose you've heard about Motorola, and yesterday we did mention Motorola countersued Microsoft for patent violation. It issued 16 patents against Microsoft now. And it's not exactly where Microsoft finds out that in the industry it's not only them who have all the patents and have all the possibilities of filing lawsuits. In the case of Motorola, they actually touch a friend of IBM, and IBM has got like 50,000 patents. And they kind of start to mess around with the wrong areas and kind of try to start a fight with the more difficult companies. They used to do all the very small ones, and now they go after Motorola because of Droid. And I think it's going to become a bit of a mess now.
Well, shifting on just to a few other quick headlines or quick topics I want to cover. As I mentioned in the introduction, Torrent Freak, a very interesting site for me, has turned 5 today. Torrent Freak, I've always held in high regard, not so much for a lot of the subjects on piracy and movie piracy or copyright infringement, more because of the software, the technology behind peer-to-peer and file sharing. And I see a lot of the actions of these large copyright firms as being aggressive towards the ethos of sharing data. Now, whilst you can argue, obviously, the subjects that torrent free covers a lot of the time transpire to be copyright infringement,